Welcome to Detoxicity. By men, about men, for everyone. This is a podcast that's attempting to remix the narrative around masculinity, and I thank you for listening and supporting. If you're new to the podcast, I hope you check out the archive, which contains over 150 episodes. I'm always happy when someone reaches out with a friendly word or constructive criticism, so never hesitate to hit me up either via IG at DetoxPodGuy or via email, detoxpod@gmail.com. You can also contact me if you're interested in being a guest on the show or if you know someone who might be a good guest for the show. There's also a Detoxicity Patreon. Patrons get episodes 1 week early, plus I will mail you a cool DetoxPod fridge magnet. Go to bit.ly/DetoxPod Plus to find out more. Oh, one more thing. Late last year, I completed my certification courses and I am now a life and relationship coach. I'm taking clients. Go to mike-joseph.com and book a free consultation. Thanks for listening. I really do appreciate you. One of my favorite things about doing this podcast is that it connects me with other people who are on a similar path, kind of creating a network of brotherhood almost. I can't remember who exactly brought Tyson Allred to my attention, but if you're listening to this, whoever you are, thank you. So Tyson is based in Utah. He founded and runs Copper John's, which is a company that makes and sells grooming products for men, everything from beard oil to ball wash. They also have merch, so you might want to check that out. He also, with his buddy Logan Peterson, created the brand Dad Bods and Beards. Through the Dad Bods and Beards community, it includes a podcast, among other things. He and Logan work to present and nurture positive representations of masculinity and create a space where men can feel loved, welcomed, and wanted. All very good things. I found them on Instagram and I immediately became a fan. Tyson and I struck up a friendship, and it made perfect sense to have him here on the show. Our discussion covers quite a lot of ground, as these episodes usually do. Some of the topics are familiar to those of you who've been listening to this whole time. The importance of therapy comes up. The need for community comes up. We also talk about Tyson's venture into theater. Someone who was not necessarily bitten by the acting bug, but ended up joining it on account of being a good dad. We talk about Tyson's weight loss journey. We talk about body positivity. He does cold plunges, which is something that I'm sort of curious about, but also afraid to do. We get into all of that and more over this conversation. I really, really hope you enjoy it. Here's Tyson. So I'll let you get started, and then we can just go from there.
Yeah, kind of how I got started with my mental health journey and with everything is we started Copper John during the pandemic when it hit. I didn't know I could grow a beard. And I was a huge sports guy. Like I love sports. What's funny is I literally just got done at a chiropractor because I was having headaches. And so I'm like, maybe I'll go to a natural guy and see what happens. They did x-rays and they're like, it looks like you have whiplash. And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Because of how many times I've got hit in the head in football. And so I
Jeez.
always thought my boys would love sports. No.
Really?
And that's okay. I don't have to live vicariously through them. I mean, I did everything. So my oldest was into place. And so he asked me to audition, so I did, and I became Bill Sykes out of Oliver, the evil guy, because I'm huge and everyone's afraid of me. And I grew a beard. They asked me to grow a beard, and I didn't know I could. A lot of the stuff that's in stores, I'm allergic to, because there's a lot of synthetic stuff, and even grapeseed, which is good for you, burns my skin. I don't know why, but it makes my hair fall out and it literally burns. I have a chemistry degree, and so I started making my own stuff. Pandemic hit, my wife wanted me to keep the beard, and we had enough money. So when Trump gave us the stimulus check, like every family, we used that to start the company. And I learned that having a beard was almost like having a face mask, like when we had to wear it for COVID, where it kind of protected you. It gave you a sense of well-being, like a shield almost. And so when I started Copper Johns, I wanted to make something special, something that like, what does this mean to me? And I really thought really long and hard. And the first thing that came up, and it kept coming over, was be proud of who you are. Because a lot of men struggle walking out that door. And so what I realized is when I have my beard, I feel more confident. I feel more secure about myself. And I feel like I'm a sexy beast. And so I walk out, and then all of a sudden I am like, I really like this. I like what we're doing. And then I met Logan, and Logan and I were both in this mental health journey where I was going to therapy, trying to be a better father, a better husband. And then when I found out, when through everything, is like, I got to be better for me. I got to do this for me. And by doing everything for me, I became those things that I wanted to do for other people. And Logan going through bipolar, suffering through bipolar, and the guy is just he's just amazing. And so we kind of connected. People really liked what we had to say. And so we started a podcast just as friends, just not knowing where we were going to go. And it got deep really fast. And that's kind of how Dad Bods was brought together, is just him and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to wanting to help people, because we've gone through it and we don't want people to go through it. We're not experts in anything, but we're dads, middle-aged husbands, and we just want to make people know that they're loved and that they're cared for, and that even if they're going through things like Logan and I have gone through, it's going to be okay. And so that's really important to us, and it's really resonated. It's connected with people to the point where I'm just like blessed, because you know this, after 190 plus episodes, when you do these, it's very therapeutic. It's
Yes.
very therapeutic.
Yes, it is.
And so that's kind of me in a nutshell. It's just like, I'm a father of 6, been married for 22 years, very, very blessed.
Right on. I love that you kind of encapsulated everything that you're about in such an eloquent way. And now I have like 6 million questions to ask you. It's, I guess, the first, like, I'll tell you how I located you and Logan. Because of this podcast and because of the work I do, a lot of times friends will send me links to things that they think sort of aligns with what the mission of this podcast is. So I think someone just sent me an Instagram link, and I was like, okay, this is very cool. And went to investigate further and found out that you guys were all about mental health and becoming better. And in addition, there's the whole grooming piece too, which I want to talk more about as well. You know, one thing that I kind of struggle with doing this is that, I think that men overall have issues with things like communication and self-esteem and getting help and asking for help and all these other things. I think a lot of guys that look like you have a particular level of difficulty asking for those things. And it's not even necessarily a color of the skin thing. I'm a member of the LGBTQ community, and there is the sense, true or false, that gay, queer, bi guys, whatever, are maybe a little bit more socialized to do things like ask for help and go to therapy and that kind of stuff. And also, I
I
live
would I
in New
would say
York.
that's legit. That is, I
Sure.
would you're more in tune with your emotions. I would say that's a stigma.
Right. And also, I live in New York where therapy is very, in the last few years, particularly, has become very normalized. You
Awesome.
are straight dude, different part of the country. Um, so I think it's really, really important to have guys like you and Logan who represent sort of this big, burly, like alpha's not the word I want to use, but stereotypically masculine guy.
Yeah.
Because I think that the biggest issue when it comes to people getting help and people asking for help and people getting in touch with their emotions is those typically masculine guys.
Yeah. So talking to Zachary Levi, Shazam guy, when we were there, Logan and I brought kind of what you just said up, but to the point where he answered in a way that made me like, wait, what? He's like, it's normalized. Mental health is a normal thing now. People understand it and are aware of it. However, just like you said, they don't do anything about it. Because, like, I have my mother, bless her heart, she's gone through a lot. She's had chronic pain for 20 years, to the point where her body is beat up from all the medicine and all this. And I'm just like, Mom, even if you just simply just do a Zoom call and talk to someone, you've gone through a lot. And she's like, no, I do my prayers and I do all this kind. I'm like, Mom, I love that. I love that you love God, and I love that this is all important to you. And I'm like, but he has given people skills to be able to ask the right questions that get things out of you that you didn't even realize were there. And so it's just like, I tell everyone, I'm not embarrassed at the least about going to therapy. Just kind of what I like. I have the dumbest reels. Like me and Logan, I take all my creativity out of that, and then when I just go to the gym or I'm just here, I'll just talk because that's what's on my mind. And it's just like therapy is a wonderful tool. And now it's so readily available. Like you can do it free. There's so many websites that you can do groups just through Zoom. You don't even have to freaking show your face. And you can just listen. And it's just like, why wouldn't you want to be happy? And all I feel is there's guilt and ashamed of who we are or what we've done in the past. And that was me. Like I was not an abusive father. I was not a mean father. But when my daughter went to the hospital for a mental health issue and she was in a place for 5 months, we went in and did family therapy. Things that came out hurt. And it made me realize that, hey, I might be okay, but some of the things I say jokingly or saying things that it just opened my eyes to the point where I'm like, I need to better myself. I need to realize that I'm not perfect. And then after I went to the first time, I'm like, I had no idea that there was problems. Like he asked one question, I started crying and I'm like, what the crap is going on? I didn't even know this was an issue. I'm like, this isn't important. He's like, it is important. This is the first thing he talked about. And after we resolved that, and I talked to the person that was kind of the reason for that, dude, I'm a different father. It's crazy how patient and loving I am now compared to where I was. And I was a good dad, but now it's just like all the kids come over to our house, all the teenagers and stuff, and they just want to hang out and talk because I'm realizing this sounds stupid because I wasn't a bad person, but I'm realizing that your struggles and my struggles, even though they're different, your struggles are just as hard as mine. And so I'm learning that yeah, that test is hard. I get that. Now I'm like, okay, how can I help you because it is hard. Not like, dude, it's just a math test. Let's just take it. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's not the end of the life. Now I realize it's important. Sorry, I'm going off at a tangent.
No,
It's
it's
just
fine. It's important stuff to talk about, and it is really a couple of things you said. I, Going to therapy obviously isn't going to necessarily make you happy if you're not happy, but it will give you tools to make you happier than you
Mhm.
are. And I think we're all evolving people. I would imagine most people want to wake up tomorrow morning even 1% better, feeling better, looking better, acting better than they were the day before. Like I feel like that's
Well, I
most
went to
people's goal.
therapy for 2 years.
Right.
And at the very end, he goes, Tyson, there is no reason you should feel this way. You need medication. And that's when I'm like, okay. So now I take depression, anxiety medicine, and I take an ADD medicine. And it has changed my life. It really has. And if you look at Logan, I mean, he went on to a plethora of medication and now he takes ketamine. And ketamine really calms his brain and it helps him. And that's not a secret. He's talked about that and stuff. But
Right
it's
on.
it's just like sometimes therapy is always good, but sometimes you need more.
You need other stuff. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I am on my own ketamine journey at the moment,
that's
and I would
awesome.
love to talk to Logan about that at some point.
I
But
talked to him before this and he's more than willing to be on your podcast.
awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, everybody needs help, right? And that help may come in speaking to somebody once a week. It may come in speaking to a group of people once a week or once a month. It may come in speaking to somebody once a week and then taking medication every day. There's a whole bunch of different ways to improve how you're feeling, but the first step is pushing that button. Well, the first step is recognizing that you need to push that button and then actually pushing the button. And once you do those two things, the world opens up.
Yeah, think about losing weight. Like at my heaviest, I was 349, and that was in August. And I got to the point where I'm like, I want to live. You know what I mean? It was to that point where your family's like, Tyson, you need to lose weight. I'm like, whatever. Now it's like, hey, I want to lose weight, but you don't lose weight overnight. And it's the same thing. You go to the gym, you work out, you work at it, you eat a little bit more healthy, all that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, it adds up. And it's just like our mental health. Start working on it. But for me, I have 45 years of baggage that I have to unravel and understand
Mhm.
and realize that, hey, you're okay. You know what I mean? These things are there for your good and they've helped you. Like, I have a life coach that I have anxiety, like severe anxiety sometimes where it's crippling. And I talk to him about that. And every time I have it, and he's like, okay, go back. So when's the last time you felt embarrassed you said something? And I close my eyes and we go through it and he goes, okay, how does that feel? And I would, and then he'd say, and I wouldn't talk. He's like, now go back to where you felt anxiety. How does that feel? He's like, and I told him, and he's like, it's not because you're doing anything. It's because you feel shamed. You're embarrassed. You're worried about what people think. And so I'm still learning myself that it's because of my people pleasing with some of the things that happened to me in my life. I try so hard for people to like me because that's where I get my happiness. And it's a work in progress. I'm doing a lot better, but you have to recognize your emotions. And that's one thing that therapy really helps you with is recognizing where these things come from so that you can work on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so important. And again, I really appreciate what you and Logan are doing. Because again, I'm coming from, it's the same perspective, but because of where I'm located and who I am, the people I can reach, it's a little different than the people that you can reach. And it's all good. And when we all work together, it improves everything.
100%.
You know,
Hmm.
yeah. So
And I love what you're doing. I absolutely love talking to you through the DMs. And now you have my phone number. We can talk
yeah,
anytime.
I
I just,
appreciate that,
I
brother.
love what you're doing. Yeah, I have lots of friends in the LGBTQ plus community, and they're the most loving, kind, most supportive people I know. Just because of theater, I know that's a stereotype, but it's kind of a reason why it's a stereotype. Doing 28 plays with my son, one of my closest friends is named Rick. He just got married up in New York and he's on Broadway now and stuff like that. And man, just the things that he's had to go through, you guys are amazing. And I'm always here to support and love. And that's why Logan and I are just like, we embrace like, it's just whatever. Like, it's just fun.
And I love that too, because again, we're talking about stereotypes here. The stereotype is that a dude that looks like you, well, the stereotype is that a dude that looks like you would be one of two things: either a homophobe or gay basher, you
Hmm.
know, big dude with a beard, or like a bear,
Yeah.
part of the actual community. So to see, and I hate the word bromance, right? To see the way that you and Logan interact as two straight guys. But also, I remember there being an Instagram post where there was some backlash because you were supporting the queer community. And it sounded like you were really hurt by that. Yeah. And I do think for like allyship is so important. I think, especially in current times, showing that you are in support of people who are disenfranchised, disprivileged, however you want to put it, is really, really important because, again, I'm a queer guy. If as soon as I walk into a room, if I say that I am not straight, then people are going to look at me a little bit differently. But if you're a straight guy saying the same things I'm saying, they're going to listen to you a little differently. So the fact that you are a vocal ally is, I think, super important.
Yeah. I think you're talking about when Logan and I were talking because it's weird. Like, we just connected, and if I was, he would be my partner. Like, that's how it is. We made a couple of reels a couple of days ago, and where I'm like, "You sure you're not gay?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Gay." But we go to church, and I had someone come up to me and say, "I thought you were a good Christian boy." Or I thought you were a good Christian. And like, dude, it destroyed me for a day and a half, 2 days. I talked to my dad, and because it bothered me that much about this, and he's like, Tyson, because I believe in God, but I also believe God loves everyone, and He's a perfect father. And if I love my kids so much, how much does He love us?
Right.
Because He's perfect. And so in my mind, I'm just like, how can there be so much hate, Dad? Like, how come? Like, why would someone be mad because I am support of someone being happy and feeling loved? And it really, really bothered me. Like, I'm kind of tearing up, but it's just like, it's not. I don't know. I'm sorry. I am tearing up. It
Yeah.
bothers me that much.
It's all good. I mean, imagine how I feel, honestly.
No, that's what I
Um,
mean. Is I
yeah,
I have so many close friends and some family members, and I just see a girl who's afraid to tell anyone who would try to attempt to take her life twice because she's afraid of what her neighbors are going to think or her mom, and it's just it's not right.
It's not right. People
Sorry,
just want to live their
sorry.
lives. You do not have to apologize, Tyson, at all. At all. So, bouncing around a little bit, switching gears.
Yeah, right. Let's make it fun.
So, grooming. I think I'm a couple years older than you are. And dudes in our age range weren't really brought up, I think, with a sense of like, take care of yourself, look good.
Oh,
Like, you know, if you tried too hard, you were gay. And I think that that's changed over the last 20 or 25 years. But I would imagine you still encounter or interact with a lot of guys who either don't know how to take care of themselves or are unaware of how to take care of themselves. Or it's like, I only needed to look good to meet somebody to marry, and now I'm married and I can let myself go.
yeah. I would say the stereotype is mostly gone of like I don't need to take care of myself. I think mostly is uneducated and unaware because a lot of people are like, oh, use our beard oil. Well, I can't get past the itchy phase, and so I just don't use it. I'm like, buddy, that's what it's there for. It's for your skin. Like your body creates a sebum oil as you grow a beard. Your body, so your hair wicks that sebum oil, so it creates itchiness because it's dry, and therefore you need oil. And then they're like, oh, and so I would say 50% of my customer base are freedom beards where they used to be in some sort of service like military or first responder, and they couldn't grow a beard. They weren't
Right, you can't
allowed
have
to
facial
because of
hair. Yeah.
hazmat and all that.
Yeah.
And so now we call them freedom beards, and dude, they're all about it. So I think the stereotype that it's feminine or you shouldn't take care of yourself and all that is gone. It's more just I think they're just unaware. There are a few weird ones where they're like, dude, I'm not going to do that, but that's very rare now. It's more of like, wait, what? That does that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, who doesn't want to look their best? It's a cliche, but it's true. When you look good, you feel good.
No, you 100%, dude. If you feel like you're looking good and spot on, you hold your head up high and you feel like you can conquer the world. And I don't know how you feel about this. I'm still learning about this because Logan's weird and I think it's voodoo. But he's talking about frequencies and manifesting and all this kind of stuff. But it's true in a way where when you are more confident and you feel more confident, you attract that. And so that's what I'm trying to do is help them feel more confident so that they can attract what they want and feel more secure about themselves.
Yeah, I don't think this exists so much in the world anymore, but there were all of these sort of like date doctors or date coaches or whatever you want to call them, like
Oh
hookup
yeah.
artists, whatever. That would be like,
Uh-huh.
oh well, you got to do all this to get a girl and blah blah blah. And a lot of it is bull. But what it comes down to, which is true, is if you feel good about yourself and you're a confident person and you express that confidence in a way that's not caveman like, but in a way that's it's the right way to act, then you will attract the people that you want to attract.
Oh, 100%. Like so this isn't to boast. I'm still overweight, but I only have about 40 pounds to go. I've lost 60 since I started in August.
Holy
I
crap.
feel so much more secure about myself. And if you didn't know who I was before, I'm still overweight. And you would never know, but you would think I'm more confident. Like he's confident in who he is, and I always like that. Like I'll see women who might not normally fit the criteria to take their shirt off and wear a sports bra in the gym, or a guy taking their shirt off at the swimming and stuff like that. And whenever I see that, I'm just like, good for you. I wish I could do that always. And now I'm
Body
kind of like, I'm
positivity.
almost to that point where I'm like, I think I could do that. You know what I mean?
What's stopping you?
It's the shame. It's the embarrassment. It's the people pleasing, and I'm aware of that, and I'm working on it. It's still work in progress, but
You know, it's funny to me because I still carry some level of body shame. I used to be overweight, but even before that, I grew up in a very sort of conservative Catholic household, and we never talked about people's bodies or anything like that. So I was the type of person who I had to go into the locker room, or if I had to go to the pool,
mm,
I was right in, right out, like nothing like that. And I think part of what made my mind change is I used to see like all these videos or pictures or whatever of Europeans, people on the beach in Europe, like these bigger dudes with like banana
Yes.
hammocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so if this person can have the confidence to walk out like this in public and not care 100%, then what's stopping me?
Hmm.
If people talk, it is their problem and not your problem.
Yes, and I 100% agree. It's making my brain get it. Like
Right.
I get it, but making me feel it too. It's like I used to be a bodybuilder, and I used to like when I got married, I was 240, and I played football in college, and I was six pack and all this kind of stuff. And so I almost have like I always call it the fat man syndrome, where I make fun of myself before anyone else makes fun of me. And it's something that I've worked really, really hard to not do, which I haven't in a very long time. But the body dysmorphia of me thinking I have to have a six pack and looking good, it's still there. And I try really hard. Like we do the cold plunges now and the saunas and stuff like that, and I'll take my shirt off, and it's embarrassing, but no
Dude,
one cares. No
no
one
one
cares.
cares. Honestly, not a person.
Mm-mm.
Nobody
No, it's a
cares.
thing. It's one of those things I'm just like, I'm so dumb. And then
Right.
I'll hurt myself even much. Why are you doing that? And I'm just like, I'm trying.
Right.
It's something that I've always been. It's even when I was fit, I always had a hard time doing that. So
Right.
I don't know. It's something that I'm always working on.
Human bodies exist and they're all different and they're all valid. And
Well,
I
that's why
think
I tell
just
my
keeping
wife,
that.
and it's the truth. I'm like, you are so sexy. It embarrasses her. Like I'll just say it for my kids. I'm like, Candace, you look so good right now. You are so attractive. I'm like your bum is popping. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and she doesn't believe me, but in reality, I'm dead serious about it. Like, holy crap, you look good. And I just got to remember that she feels the same way,
We
and
just
she tells me that. And
we get taught to not be proud of what we look like.
hmm and
You know,
what's
and
funny is that's my motto, and I'm trying to live it. I'm trying to live it,
when you
but
put this
that's
stuff
why I
out
know it's so
there,
hard.
you set a standard for yourself and you got to live up to it. You
Yeah,
know,
agreed.
and it ain't easy. You know,
Hmm.
so since August, so that's I got to do math now, and that sucks. It's about 6 months ago. You've
Yeah.
lost 60 pounds, which is kind of insane. How did you do it?
So I didn't know this anything like this existed. Like I said, I was never like what you were like alpha or anything like that. I didn't understand it because I didn't grow up in this type of environment where there was brotherhood and there was communication and all this kind of stuff and therapy. This is all recent. And so in August, because of Dad Bods and Beards, we were invited to this thing called Connect and Conquer. And it was done by the supplement company Mountain Ops. And where we would go and we made 50,000 meals for less privileged people, their kids for school lunch. Like they'll go to schools, they'll give it to them so they have food when they get home and stuff. And so we made 50,000 meals, and then after that we worked out, and then we did a cold plunge sauna, and then we did breath work and all that kind of stuff. When we worked out, there was only like 3 or 4 of us that couldn't do everything.
Mm,
And they said, okay, just run to the fence and back, which is not even far. And I couldn't run. And I'm like, when was I not able to run? And it kind of was a wake up call after doing the breath work, which was it's a really cool spiritual experience. I recommend if you haven't done it.
I do
And
breath
then
work,
I
yes.
just realized I'm like, it's time for me to be better. For me, like this is for me. And so I asked Trevor, the owner of Mountain Ops, to come on Dad Bods and Beards. And when we talked and everything, his was a different episode. It's different than most episodes. And but we liked how he's trying to help other people. And he wasn't a bro science. He was more of a, hey, we're mountain. It doesn't matter what you look like. Our product is here to help you. And he started his company to help hearts because his dad's heart was failing. And so he made a supplement that helped his dad's heart. And so we really liked everything. And so they're sponsored Dad Bods. And because of that, he gives us $200 worth of free product each. But part of that deal is he also gives us financially to help pay for other things like therapy. He helps pay for our coach, our therapy, a life coach type of thing.
Nice. That's
And
awesome.
because I know, right? But because of that, the coach helps us and the supplements help us. And basically, Logan and I just made a decision like, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden, now I'm running a half, he's running a full marathon in June. Thanks. And it's a lifestyle change, and it really is. And so we've been trying really hard. Like right after this, I'm going to go run. And I didn't know there was different zones for the heart rate that you have to do and all this kind of stuff. I just ran and I nearly died. So, so he's doing things different, and so he's teaching me all this kind of stuff. And on top of that, I'm learning meditation and new calm and helping me understand my body better. And because of that, my wife's running with me, my kids are running with me, and all this kind of stuff. It's
Nice.
really fun, and our life has changed. And so we're not worried about the scale. We're not worried about what we eat. We try to listen to our body. We try to understand it better. And because of that, weight is just coming off slowly. Like we're trying to lose weight, but at the same time, we're trying just to better ourselves in
That's I
all
think
areas,
is
not just physical, but the emotional and spiritual and all that kind of stuff. And spiritual means holistic. I always worry about people thinking like just bettering your aura, like who you are and how you connect to the earth and connect to people. That's what I talk about spirituality.
I love that. I love that. I've never done a cold plunge. I'm a little
Dude,
afraid to do a
do be
cold
afraid.
plunge
Do
because I
be
get
afraid. It's
yeah. I mean, even if like the heat's not on and I turn the shower on and like it gets randomly cold, I'm like ah. So
yeah, no. So they say women, to help women, they need to be 55 degrees to 60 degrees.
okay,
And for men, it needs to be 40 or low or 45 and below
okay.
to help with our hormones and all that kind of stuff. And it is a shock. But after a while, you get not you don't get used to it, but you get used to the like you realize that you're not going to die and your body relaxes, and then it's actually a really cool sensation. Like when I get done, I'm ready for bed. Logan's totally opposite. He's ready to go run a marathon. I'm just like, okay, I'm exhausted. Like it wore me out. It calms me where it excites him. So it's funny how our bodies are different.
They're all different. They're all
Hmm.
different. Jumping around a little bit again, and actually, I thought of a second point I wanted to bring up,
I
but I'll
have
go to the
ADD.
first. Huh? It's all
I
good.
have ADD.
I mean,
I'm
I
sorry.
as do I. So we're just gonna bounce around all over the place together. Shit, I just lost the point. It's gonna come back to
You
me.
can edit it. It's okay.
Okay.
We were talking
Uh,
about cold plunges.
we're talking about cold plunges, and then I wanted to ask you about plays. So you said just kind of almost as like an aside that you've been in like 28 plays.
Yeah, so I am a huge proponent on family. I'm a huge proponent on showing up for your kids and showing up for your wife. Now, mind you, owning a company, it's really sidelined as that a little bit. So when I'm home, try to be present as much as possible. But yeah, Isaac is my oldest. He's 20 now. And when he was 12, he was in a professional theater, and he was who was he? He was the Little Mermaid's friend, like the fish, whatever the freaking called.
Okay.
Anyway,
Little Mermaid
uh,
fish.
he- yeah, he was one of them, and I thought this is the coolest thing ever. But again, growing up in football and sports and masculinity type of stuff, you're like, I don't want plays. I'm like, how did I not do this before? And then Isaac's like, hey, Dad, will you please audition? And I did, and I loved it. I loved the community it created. I loved the people. I loved the friendship. I loved the bond. And I loved spending time with Isaac where it was just me and him. And yeah, we did 28 plays. Like we did some where we get paid professional plays. And we did some in front of the Killers. I like the Disney Channel. Isaac was in Hereditary, the scary movie, and a
Nice.
couple other movies and stuff. And at the time, I'm like, I didn't realize this was going to be a rated R horror show. And he's 12. But it's something that created a special bond between me and him even to today. And like he'll call me and just talk. And I don't know a lot of people who are willing to do that. Like all my kids do now. It's sometimes they overshare. I'm like, you didn't need to tell me that. But but
Better to overshare than undershare.
yeah. But we did it was just so much fun, and we're still going to be doing it. He's going to college in a different area and all that kind of stuff, but when he comes back, like he has a girlfriend now that he's never had us meet his girlfriend, and I'm like, oh crap, what does this mean? And that's tomorrow. But I'm like, you're not ready, buddy, you're so young. Like what do you mean?
He's
But
20, you know.
I know hormones are crazy. But it's just I'm a huge proponent on doing things with your kids and family and stuff like that. So like I'll work out with my daughter who's 11, and do I get a good workout with it? Not at all. But I'm hanging out with her and she smiles and she's cute and all that kind of stuff.
Right. It's the time spent that matters.
Hmm.
Yeah. 100%. And it's got to be difficult. You're an entrepreneur and you've got the podcast and you've got a large family and working on yourself on top of that, that's a big chunk.
Yeah,
How do you balance all of that stuff?
you don't. You do the best you can. There's days where I'll be in the lab from 7 a.m. until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. You do the best you can with what you can. But with that being said, that's why I'm so adamant about when I'm home, I'm present and I'm not hiding and that type of stuff. And so Sundays are always a day for my family. Saturdays, usually in the mid afternoon on, are for my family. And then in the evenings, I try to be home by 6 until they all go to bed. And so we can do stuff together as a family and eat together. When we eat, no one can have their phones. No one can have the TV on. We have to sit around the table and we eat as a family and talk. And then we do high lows and gratitudes. That's what they're called. So we
Okay.
do one thing that's high, like high for the day, one thing that was low, that was hard for the day, and one thing they're grateful for.
Oh,
And we do that so that our kids learn how to communicate and how to say, hey, this is hard. And it's okay that it was hard. And then we can talk about it and stuff like that. And also, it's like, not everything's hard, man. There's a lot of good stuff in your life too. And then what are you grateful for? Because I've learned that it's when you are always down, you bring that with you everywhere you go. And so even though you're having a hard time, you can be grateful for things too. So we're trying to teach our kids that, and we're trying to teach ourselves that, and so we do that. And I really, really love that time with my family and my kids.
it's important to have. And I love that you bring up gratitude. I'll share with you, since the inauguration, I've been in a not great mental place.
I get it.
And there's been, for a period of time, for maybe about a month or so, like leading up, and I do this periodically, I keep a journal. And for a while, when I was on Instagram, I would put in my story 3 things that I was grateful for from the day before. And then I transfer that over to, I just type notes into like Gmail or whatever and say 3 things that happened today that I'm thankful for. And then after like January 21st, I dropped it. I stopped writing just because everything felt so dark. It didn't feel like there was anything to be grateful for. And now it's like, I think I've had a little bit of time to get used to things, but I do think it's important to know that even in dark times, I can think of friends that I've hung out with, or meals that I've eaten, or music that I've listened to. There's always like some stuff that you should be grateful for, even in the worst day you could be having.
I agree.
Yeah,
And yeah, I won't go into politics right now, but I
sure.
will say
Yeah,
I still work on base because I haven't paid myself with Copper John, so I work at the Hill Air Force Base. And my job is very niche where I go on base every now and then to teach. I work on like classes and then I go teach them. And so my job does not require me to be on base unless I'm teaching, which is makes sense. And we got called and we have to go on base and work now, and it's a real waste of time. And I'm struggling with that. Like
right,
I'm struggling with that. And so it's things like that where you're just like, hey, something needs to change. And that's when you're like, hey, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And where do I want to be? So, and what do I need to implement that I wasn't doing so that I can be where I want to be? And so that's one of the things is with those high lows and gratitude and looking at it a different way. It's more of like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to grow. What do I need to learn from it? And how do I continue to go where I need to be with this obstacle in the way? And so we have a plan, my wife and I, and it doesn't mean that it's easy. It's just, but dude, like I know a lot of people are like, whoever listens to your podcast, rolling their eyes right now is like, oh no, you have to do something. But you get something that, like, I did not cheat anyone, I did not hurt anyone, I did my job completely perfect, and I did everything that they asked for. And if they wanted me to do more, I would do it, and I had zero issue with it. But it allowed me to save money on gas. It allowed me to spend more time and do the things I need to do. But now I don't get to do any of that, and so it's hard
right.
and selfish. But I can be selfish.
At the end of the day, you have to look out for yourself first.
Yeah,
And people, I've said this many times before, people act like the word selfish is a bad word. And I do think that it can be used in a bad sense, like selfish to the exclusion of everyone else. That's bad.
yeah,
But being you and putting you first ahead of other people, that's being a human. And if you don't put yourself first, who is?
Yeah. My neighbor, he works on base. Well, he doesn't. He works for in Utah, and he works for the Air Force, but his base is in Florida. And so he now has to either find a new job or he has to relocate within a month to go to Florida with I don't know how many kids, but he has multiple children
Right.
and a wife who has a job here, and they don't know what they're going to do. So a lot of us here locally that are around this area work there. And so it's really hard because there's not enough room up there for all of us.
Right.
And so now it's like, what do we do? so so a lot of people are stressing and all that, and so I wasn't going to get into politics, but that really has taken a lot of people's mindset right now
Right.
because it's difficult.
Right. It is. It is. Yeah. No getting around that. You mentioned being on base, and through your business, I know that you reach a lot of people. Do you get? And I'm assuming the answer to this is yes. I'll be surprised if it's not. People who come up to you or message you and give you heavy stuff because you
All
talk
the
about
time.
mental health. How do you handle that?
Honored and humbled that they do that. Like Logan and I are trying to create an environment, even though they're not a part of the podcast when we're doing it, we want them to feel like they're there. And because we're 100% authentic on there, like we're talking just like now. This is who we are. There's no hiding who we are. And so I will always respond to you. It might take a little bit because I do get a lot of messages, but I will always respond. And sometimes you can know that they're struggling. And I have 10 different voice messages that are a minute long because they only go a minute on Instagram. And people are shocked that I would do that. I will say this, though. There's a few of them that are habitually negative. And
Right.
that's really hard because you give them the tools, so to speak. Like, I can't afford a therapy. Well, that's why we partnered with Nerd HQ, so that Nerd HQ isn't paying us. We've actually donated money to Nerd HQ because it gives people, not just men, but men, women, children who need therapy to get it for free. And so I'm like, buddy, you go to Nerd HQ. If you can't afford therapy, do this. And it's more of like, I think people live in a habitual state of misery because that's all they know.
Mhm.
And they don't know how to get out of it, even though you give them the tools or tell them how to. They have to do it. Kind of like me losing weight. I have to want to. But they're reaching out, so they know they're miserable. They know they need to, but I think they just want someone to talk to. So I try to be. But there's one guy there that I can't keep helping you and talking to you if you're not going to help yourself.
Yourself.
Then I went and talked to the CEO of Nerd HQ. I got him in touch, and he's taking therapy, which is really cool.
That's awesome. I think a lot of that is fear. Like I've been stuck in this state of discomfort or misery or whatever for so long. How am I going to feel if it gets better? There's the fear of not having that to lean on anymore, which is,
It's
I
true.
mean, weird when I say it out loud, and it might be weird for other people to hear, but I think it is true. When you feel a certain way, for so long, the idea of feeling better just feels like you might not even feel like the same person.
Well, just kind of what I was telling you about, there's 3 levels, and I can't remember what the levels are called. I apologize. But our level, we want to be in the middle level where we're just neutral. We can lean and kind of feel our emotions. Then you have the high, and then you have the low. A lot of times, a lot of us are going to be on the low side, and we're there so long that that becomes our normal.
It's normal. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we feel good, and our body all of a sudden, wait, we're not supposed to feel this way, and they push us back down.
Right.
And our body naturally does it because that's what it knows. And so that's why you have to continue to train yourself. So like mine is, I'm supposed to be right here, I'm down here, and I continually push myself up, but my body wants to keep going down. I learned that from I can't remember what they're called, but I learned that from Brock. I've talked about Brock a couple of times, and he taught me that like your body just naturally wants to go to what it knows. And if you're consistently low, that's what it
That's where
knows.
it's gonna go. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Um, with that in mind, like you've obviously built this big community of people. So I would imagine community is something that means a lot to you. Um,
100%.
and what is it like to be in this sort of part of your life where presumably you have at least Logan and probably a bunch of other guys that you can sort of be open and be yourself and be vulnerable with.
It's something that's new. Like I said, as of August, I didn't have that. I just had Logan. I had Copper Johns. I've done hundreds of lives, and I do a live on Fridays where I talk to everyone in the community with Copper Johns. And fun fact, we hardly ever talk about beard care. We just talk about everything else. But like I said, it's important because I want everyone to feel like they're loved and seen. That is important to me. So it's weird because this community we're in is mostly just younger guys. Like it's younger
Hmm.
guys like me and Logan and younger people. So it's like the older people still don't know it's there. Like I didn't know it's there. So we're trying to open eyes. I invite friends and they are slowly starting to want to come. Um but it's just like, why would I want to do this? Why would I want to do a cold plunge? I'd rather watch TV with my wife, that type of thing. I'm like, you don't understand. Like there's a bond that you form through hard times and try I cold plunges are hard.
I,
And
I'm going to take your word for that.
for me they're hard. And you create a bond and you create a relationship that there's certain things you can't I shouldn't say can't. You don't want to say in front of your partner to either make them worried, nervous, or you're ashamed, or you want to run something by them before you run in front of your partner. You're allowed to do that with these guys. You're allowed to do it with this group of people that you're comfortable with. And so I just highly recommend going to your local area, go on Facebook groups that have to do with this and join and be a part of it. Like there's a lot of bearded clubs, but I like which I love, it's totally okay, but I really like this Connect and Conquer because it's all about being okay with yourself and teaching us out. And I that's what I really connected with this is all these younger men who are not married, who are still going to college, who are still trying to figure out life, they get it. And it's me who's older who is just starting to understand that. I'm like, wait, what? This was available? How did I not know this? Uh, this would have changed everything 10 years ago. You know what I mean? When I
Bro,
was going through my darkest times.
bro,
Um,
believe me when I tell you,
yeah,
it's our age. It's
yeah,
like our age and up. You
yeah.
know,
And so I've actually talked to Logan about this. Like in April, we're going to Florida and we're going to have a huge meetup. And our goal is eventually do Dad Bods full time. Copper Johns will be self sustaining, where I already have employees where they're taking care of the day to days, and I help with the big stuff. But where Copper Johns is going around and we're creating communities, like we're bringing people in each state together is our goal, so that when we're not there, you still have that brotherhood and that connection and stuff. We're really, really striving hard to do that. We're trying to create a community center. We're trying to create a charity. Like we have all these plans to help with men because we need to be heard, we need to be felt, we need to be understood, and a lot of guys don't realize that, especially our age, that
right? And
you're,
we need
you're
to
stuck in silence, and
right.
it's
We
not
need to
okay.
hear ourselves and feel ourselves and each other.
Yeah,
I keep reading all these things about like a loneliness epidemic and people isolating, and obviously the suicide rates for men are wildly out of proportion in comparison to women. And we need to have conversations like this to let people know. And in addition to conversations like this, just doing like outreach in the actual world to let people know that it's okay to feel feelings, like it's okay to
yeah,
be confused about something, it's okay to ask for help. It's being having a close relationship with another dude does not make you gay. And
at
even if it
all.
you're right, even if it did, that would be fine. It's just all of this stuff that we have to sort of unlearn. And I'm really grateful that you are one of the people doing it. If you want to hear a little bit more of our conversation, subscribe to our Patreon, uh, patreon.com/detoxicity, and you'll get to hear a few more minutes of my conversation with Tyson. Tyson, thank you so much for being on the show. I hope this isn't the first time you stopped by. Would love to have you back. Logan will be on in a few weeks, hopefully. And once again, you took time out of what is a very busy schedule, judging from what I currently know, and sat with me for an hour, and it does not go unappreciated. I appreciate your mission. I love what Dad Bods and Beards does. I love what Copper Johns does, particularly as a bearded guy myself. And if you, listening people, want to check out more about the Dad Bods and Beards brand, I would say check out their podcast, which is available wherever podcasts are shown, listened to, available to hear. You can also check them out on YouTube, which is where I listen to them. And you can also give them a follow if you're on social media. You can find them at Dad Bods and Beards. That's the word and not the ampersand. Once again, Dad Bods and Beards. Thank you again, Tyson. Thank you for listening to Detoxicity. I hope you found this particular episode interesting. And if you are new, I hope you go back and listen to all of the older episodes. Once again, my name is Mike Joseph. I am the host and producer of this show. And there are a lot of things that you can do to continue to support our mission, continue to support this podcast. Follow me on social media. I am on Instagram, Twitter, and I'm on TikTok as DetoxPod Guy. You can also send me an email if you'd like. I'm at detoxpod@gmail.com. I am always on the hunt for people with interesting, inspirational, and powerful stories. So if you know somebody who fits that bill, or if you yourself fit that bill, please don't hesitate to drop me a line via email or via social media. Please make sure you subscribe on your podcast platform that you're listening to this on. Rate, comment, help a brother out, help us move up in the rankings. Follow me on social media. Like I said, follow our Patreon, or subscribe to my Patreon, actually. Patreon.com/DetoxicityPod. You get access to exclusive episodes. You get episodes a little earlier than the general public. You get a cool-ass sticker, lots of stuff. Once again, Patreon.com/DetoxicityPod. Quick shout out to Calvin Williams for providing the music and doing his magic on the logo, which was originally designed by Jacob Block. I thank you all for listening. I wish you all the best. Please take care of each other. Till next time, peace.